This man was holding a surgical knife in his hand. Then he suddenly strangled the forensic officer next to him. He even passed the knife across the forensic officer's face. This made her extremely scared. It turned out that this man was a policeman. His actions just now were just imitating the murderous state of the perverted murderer they had been investigating for the past few days. It turned out that the night before, a beautiful girl was walking and scrolling through phone when suddenly a man dressed in black walked past from the darkness. The girl seemed to sense something and immediately stopped, but when she turned around, she didn't find anything unusual. The girl was trembling and a little scared, so she quickly opened her contacts to prepare to call her father. While she was making a call, footsteps suddenly came from behind her. The girl turned around in panic, then threw away her umbrella in fear and ran away. The man in black saw the girl running away and chased after her. He grabbed her hair. Just like that, the girl was taken to an abandoned warehouse. When the girl woke up, she found herself tied to a chair. This scared this girl so much that she was gasping. At this moment, the man in black whistled and slowly walked over. The girl was so scared that her whole body trembled and she kept making weak calls for help. But soon after, the girl immediately stopped breathing. After she stopped breathing, the man in black put her in a plastic bag and threw her in the trash. Today happened to be the girl's birthday. The father was still waiting for his daughter to come home to give her a surprise. At this moment, the phone rang. He happily picked up the phone to check, but when he heard his daughter say she wouldn't be home tonight, the smile on his lips gradually disappeared. His daughter had never stayed out all night before, so he quickly called her back. But no matter how he called, he couldn't get through. At that moment, lightning flashed outside the window. The father looked outside, and it was raining heavily. He immediately felt that something was wrong, so he immediately called the police. The next day, the police discovered the body of a girl in the garbage dump. After removing the mask, the police discovered that the murderer had also made a huge gash on the victim's mouth. The murderer's cruel methods were truly like a madman. Anyone would be terrified just by looking at them. The police quickly identified the deceased. The girl's name was Jo Eun, a first-year university student. On the night of her murder, Jo Eun was just 20 years old, and at the same time, she completely matched the characteristics of the girl who was reported missing yesterday. This time, Sung-Joon was in charge of the case. Through forensic examination, both sides of the victim's mouth were cut at the same time to make it look like she was smiling. Each cut was 5 centimeters long. From this, it can be seen that the murderer was extremely skilled with knives. Suddenly, Sung-Joon picked up a surgical knife and directly strangled the forensic doctor. At this moment, his eyes became extremely fierce, and he waved the knife back and forth in front of the forensic doctor. It turned out that Sung-Joon was simulating the criminal's psychology to find a little clue to solve the case as soon as possible. But Sung-Joon's actions really scared the female forensic doctor, who scolded him afterwards. Based on the girl's last message, Sung-Joon had determined that the target was near a ruined building. Sung-Joon then went to the scene, but discovered that the surveillance cameras around were all broken. After surveying the surrounding area, Sung-Joon discovered a camera at an intersection not far away, so Sung-Joon immediately told his colleagues to extract the surveillance camera. At this time, a food delivery guy happened to pass by. Seeing that, Sung-Joon immediately chased after him. Sung-Joon jumped over the wall and blocked the guy's car. Sung-Joon immediately took out a photo of Jo Eun and asked him if he had ever seen Jo Eun. The food delivery guy shook his head and said he didn't know this person. Suddenly, Sung-Joon accidentally discovered that the food delivery guy's helmet had a device that recorded the journey. Sung-Joon then went to find Jo Eun's best friend. Jo Eun's best friend said that night when they were hanging out at a nightclub together, a rich young man kept pouring Jo Eun wine. Jo Eun didn't drink, so the young man held a knife to Jo Eun's face. Because she was too scared, Jo Eun asked to leave first. At this time, the rich young master was enjoying a luxurious life in the bar. A cold girl immediately caught his attention. He immediately took out a piece of chewing gum from his pocket and put it in the drink. Then he gave the drink and told the girl to drink it all. The girl refused and said that she didn't like taste of chewing gum. Seeing that, he immediately took out a stack of money. He thought that this would be easy to handle, but the girl didn't like it at all and pushed the young master away and said that if he liked it, he could drink it slowly. Then she even cursed him as a bastard. After hearing that, the young master grabbed the girl and pushed her directly against the wall and said that she was good at everything but was a bit arrogant. It was at this critical moment that Sung-Joon rushed in and immediately revealed his identity. The young master saw that Sung-Joon was just a small police officer and immediately became arrogant and pushed Sung-Joon aside. Sung-Joon was not afraid and immediately taught the young master a lesson. After returning to the police station, Sung-Joon took out Jo Eun's photo for the young master to confirm, but he firmly denied that he had killed Jo Eun. At this time, Sung-Joon's colleague also found evidence of the young master's alibi. After listening, he started bragging that his father was a rich man. His uncle was also a lawyer at a large law firm. He then threatened Sung-Joon for daring to beat him up so much that his face was bruised. Sung-Joon felt uncomfortable with the young master's arrogant appearance and immediately went in front of this guy. Sung-Joon then said that his father was also a judge. Not only that, but even the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. Before leaving, Sung-Joon did not not forget to warn the young master, and then told him that my brother was also a judge. Through the device that recorded the journey of the food delivery guy, Sung-Joon discovered a very suspicious man named Man-chun. Man-chun worked at the factory of the victim's father, so Sung-Joon went there alone. There were all kinds of people there. The workers were all skilled with knives. When Sung-Joon revealed his identity and said he wanted to find a man named Man-chun, the expressions of the people around him became extremely strange. Sung-Joon also discovered something unusual but did not show it on the outside. After knowing that Sung-Joon came to find Man-chun, a man immediately called Man-chun to inform him. When he hung up, Sung-Joon appeared right in front of him. After being questioned by Sung-Joon, he finally revealed Man-chun's address. When Sung-Joon arrived, he sneaked into the house alone and searched everywhere, but there was no one in the room. Suddenly, Man-chun suddenly attacked Sung-Joon from behind. After a long fight, the suspect Man-chun was finally arrested and taken to the police station. All of these actions were seen by a person in a car not far away, and this person was the father of the person who killed Ji-eun. Suspect Man-chun applied for a jury trial. Coincidentally, the chief judge in charge of the case was Sung-Joon's brother. The trial day quickly arrived, but at the trial, Man-chun claimed that he did not kill anyone. At that time, it was true that he had held a knife to the victim's neck, but that was only to demand the salary that Ji-eun's father owed him. At that moment, a black car passed by. Ji-eun took the opportunity to push Man-chun away, ran to the parking lot, and climbed into the black car. Man-chun clearly remembered that before the car started, he saw the face of the driver. It was the criminal police officer, Sung-Joon. Man-chun's words made everyone present there stir. At this moment, Man-chun was extremely agitated and did not seem like he was lying. The police immediately asked Sung-Joon to appear in court as a witness. First, Sung-Joon provided a video that was recorded by the dashcam on the food delivery guy's helmet. From here, it was clear that Man-chun was threatening Ji-eun. Ji-eun's blood was found on Man-chun's knife. And finally, there was the image of a person who was lucky enough to survive. Her mouth was also slashed by Man-chun, and the knife wound was exactly the same as the knife wound on the victim, Ji-eun's face. Seeing this scene, everyone at the scene was very angry. Faced with such evidence, Man-chun still refused to admit that he was the murderer. The jury quickly made a final decision. They all unanimously declared Man-chun guilty. Hearing this, Man-chun was devastated. Why didn't anyone believe him? So Man-chun angrily picked up a pen and stabbed the lawyer next to him, then rushed to the chief judge. At this critical moment, Sung-Joon immediately rushed over and restrained Man-chun. Man-chun's eyes were full of ferocity and anger. He shouted and threatened that the jury would receive retribution for this. On the way to the prison, Man-chun quietly opened the piece of paper in his hand. Not long after, a large delivery vehicle rushed over, and then an accident occurred. Man-chun successfully escaped from the police car. Man-chun wanted to fulfill what he had said in court. The next day, the police discovered a corpse in a deep forest. The murderer's method was very similar to Man-chun's. The victim this time was one of the jury members. The two beautiful girls were talking and laughing in the car, while the driver kept looking at them with strange eyes. Suddenly, a delivery truck rushed towards them. Luckily, the driver braked in time, so there was no accident. At this time, the driver was angry and stepped on the gas pedal to chase after the delivery truck, scolding the delivery driver and muttering that these two crazy people were looking for death. The two girls sitting in the car were immediately frightened. Seeing this, the driver immediately changed his fierce expression and explained that it was really too dangerous just now. He was just kindly reminding the two people who were riding motorbikes. But after he finished speaking, his eyes became extremely strange. The girl whispered to Eun-Ki and told Eun-Ki to get off the car first. They did not expect that the person the driver was aiming at was the girl who was talking. Not long after, the police discovered the body of a woman in a remote forest. Her mouth had been slashed. She also had many bruises on her body, and even her fake nails had been removed. The victim was a member of the jury involved in the recent murder case. Through forensic examination, the girl's state of death was basically very similar to Ji-eun's previous case. The only difference was that the girl had been brutally beaten before she died. So Sung-Joon immediately thought of Man-chun, because after being convicted, Man-chun had threatened the jury members. At this time, after being arrested, Man-chun was being treated in the hospital. Sung-Joon angrily rushed to find Man-chun and asked if he had killed Hae-jin, but Man-chun gave an alibi. So Sung-Joon investigated everyone who went out to eat that night, but they all had alibis. Eun-Ki and Hae-jin got in a taxi together, but Eun-Ki got out of the car halfway. Sung-Joon immediately noticed the driver because he was the last person to go with Hae-jin. After revealing his identity, Sung-Joon started checking the driver's belongings. From the trunk, Sung-Joon took out a black raincoat and asked the driver what it was. The driver quickly explained that it had been raining a lot recently, so he had to bring the raincoat. But Sung-Joon's colleague discovered that the trip recorder in the car was missing, so the driver explained that it had been stolen. But when he closed the trunk, Sung-Joon discovered a tattoo on the driver's hand. He immediately said that this was his masterpiece when he was young. After that, because there was no evidence, Sung-Joon had no choice but to let the driver go. On this side, Sung-Hoon's brother was preparing to get something from Sung-Joon's car, but when he opened the car door, he accidentally conveniently discovered an earring, which was exactly like the earring of the victim named Jo Eun. After returning home, Sung-Hoon gently opened the door and saw Sung-Joon sleeping. But when Sung-Hoon just closed the door, Sung-Joon sat up. His eyes revealed an extremely scary look that he had never seen before. Moreover, Sung-Joon was holding a pink fake nail in his hand. Could it be that it was really true? As Mon-chun said, the murderer was Sung-Joon. On this side, the director lost his beloved daughter and was heartbroken to the point of despair. But at this time, he still received a message from his dead daughter. When he clicked to watch it, it was a video recording the entire process of his daughter's murder that the murderer had filmed. In the video, the chief's daughter was so scared that she was trembling and kept begging for her life, but the man in black still had no intention of sparing her. Then the girl was covered with a black plastic bag. The chief was so desperate that he couldn't say a word. At this point, the chief didn't dare to watch anymore and went into the funeral hall in a daze. He saw Sung-Joon teaching his granddaughter how to play with handcuffs. This was originally a peaceful scene, but when the pendant on Sung-Joon's chest fell off, he immediately remembered something from 20 years ago. The chief used to be the director of a welfare center. That day, a pair of sisters were brought in. The older sister's name was Yoon-jung, and the younger sister's name was Yoon-jae. At that time, both of them were wearing the same pendant on their chests as Sung-Joon was wearing. At that time, Yoon-jung was raped to death by the chief. After Sung-Joon went out, the chief followed Sung-Joon because he felt that Sung-Joon was Yoon-jung's younger brother. After returning to the police station, the chief immediately took out Sung-Joon's file to look at, but he did not find any records related to Sung-Joon being adopted from an orphanage. Therefore, the chief immediately arranged for his subordinates to find out about the necklace Sung-Joon was wearing. While eating, colleague looked at Sung-Joon's necklace and asked him where he bought it. Sung-Joon said that it was a necklace given to him by a girl. This answer immediately made the colleagues around him exclaim. They all thought that Sung-Joon had a girlfriend and scolded Sung-Joon for being a traitor. However, Sung-Joon said that the girl who gave him the necklace had passed away many years ago. After hearing that, the chief was very surprised. Yoon-jae was indeed Sung-Joon, so the chief immediately called Ji-eun's father. Mr. Bak said that he seemed to have found the culprit, which was Sung-Joon. The culprit who killed Mr. Baek's daughter was Sung-Joon. At this time, Mon-chun had asked Sung-Joon to go to the rooftop. After the security guard left, Man-chun directly knelt down and asked Sung-Joon for help. At that time, Man-chun was incited by someone else to be the replace for killer of that murder. The reason was because Man-chun's son was seriously ill and needed money for surgery, so he agreed to the request. The other party warned Man-chun that if he betrayed them, they would take action against Man-chun's son. But Man-chun didn't want to continue like that. However, because Man-chun had lied many times, Sung-Joon didn't want to believe Man-chun. But at that moment, Man-chun immediately told Sung-Joon that he had the recording of the culprit. After Man-chun told Sung-Joon where the recording was hidden, a strange smile appeared on Sung-Joon's face. At this time, Sung-Joon's brother also arrived at the hospital. Sung-Hoon wanted to find Man-chun to understand the situation better, but as soon as he entered the door, Man-chun was pushed down the stairs by someone else. Sung-Hoon couldn't believe it when he saw Man-chun's body. Sung-Hoon immediately ran to the roof but only saw a policeman knocked out. According to the policeman's story, when he went to the roof, he saw Sung-Joon and Man-chun talking to each other, but when he got closer, Sung-Joon left. But right after that, as soon as the policeman turned around, he was knocked out by someone. At that moment, no one could contact Sung-Joon. Helpless, the police could only go to Man-chun's family to understand the situation. When the policeman got upstairs, he discovered that the house was unlocked. With many years of experience in the police profession, he quickly took out his gun and gently pushed the door open to enter. At this time, the policeman saw Sung-Joon holding a knife and stabbing it into the woman's chest. This is an orphanage, but it is more like a prison. The children here have to do hard work every day. If they work a little slower, they will be beaten by the guards, and everyone can only stand by and watch because they are all children. They have also thought about running away, but when they run away because they are not familiar with terrain, some accidentally lose their lives, and some are hit by cars. Those who are captured cannot escape being brutally beaten. Sung-Joon and his brother have also experienced that. The director of this orphanage is Mr. Baek, who has just lost his beloved daughter. At this time, Sung-Joon is preparing to drive away from his colleagues, but he has not gone far when he is stopped by a car. Suddenly, someone attacked Sung-Joon from behind and knocked him unconscious. When Sung-Joon woke up again, the director from that year, Mr. Baek, was in front of him. Mr. Baek saw that Sung-Joon was awake and said, "You're awake, criminal police officer Sung-Joon. Oh no, I should call you Yoon-jae now." Miss Baek grabbed the pendant around Sung-Joon's neck and confirmed that Sung-Joon was the Yoon-jae from that year. He then lamented that he almost considered his enemy his benefactor. Mr. Baek then took out a knife and prepared to avenge his daughter, but Mr. Baek didn't know that Sung-Joon was a criminal police officer. Even though his hands were tied, Sung-Joon still escaped and ran outside. Sung-Joon desperately ran until he reached a cliff. At this moment, Mr. Baek's men also chased after him. Sung-Joon looked at Mr. Baek and provoked him, saying that you wouldn't be able to catch me. Sung-Joon then jumped down the cliff. Mr. Baek was extremely angry, so he immediately ordered his subordinates to go down and find Sung-Joon. Sung-Joon. Although Sung-Joon was injured all over his body, he still survived. Sung-Joon tried to hold back the pain and went to the phone booth to call Eun-Ki because after all, he had saved Eun-Ki's life. When Eun-Ki heard Sung-Joon's call, she was extremely shocked because she had just read the news that Sung-Joon was wanted. However, Eun-Ki did not believe that Sung-Joon was the culprit. Therefore, Eun-Ki drove to the phone booth to find Sung-Joon. But after Eun-Ki got out of the car, she found that there was no one. Seeing the blood on the phone booth, Eun-Ki was really scared and started looking for Sung-Joon. Suddenly, Eun-Ki's leg was touched by something. After taking a closer look, Eun-Ki saw a leg exposed. Eun-Ki gathered all her courage and opened the tarp to discover that Sung-Joon was covered in wounds. Then Eun-Ki helped Sung-Joon into the car. At this time, a car was rushing towards them from afar. Sung-Joon immediately realized the danger, and the person who came was Mr. Baek, who was looking for Sung-Joon. Seeing the blood on the phone booth, Mr. Baek was sure that Sung-Joon was nearby. At this time, the car next to him attracted Mr. Baek's attention. Mr. Baek immediately searched the car, but there was no one in the driver's seat. After shining the flashlight behind him, Mr. Baek saw a person covering his head with a black shirt. Miss Baek immediately pulled out a knife and pulled the car door open, then pulled down the shirt, revealing a girl who was sleeping soundly. Eun-Ki pretended to be waiting for the driver to drive and was about to take out the key and give it to Mr. Baek. Thanks to this top-notch acting, Eun-Ki successfully fooled Mr. Baek. That's why Sung-Joon was saved. After that, Sung-Joon told Eun-Ki that he was framed and could only stay here temporarily. Facing his savior, Eun-Ki chose to trust Sung-Joon. Sung-Joon asked Eun-Ki to help him deliver the news to his brother because now only his brother has the ability to help him wash away this injustice. The next day, Eun-Ki went to the court and intentionally bumped into Sung-Hoon, then picked up the prepared handkerchief and gave it to Sung-Hoon. But after going to the bathroom, Sung-Hoon saw the piece of paper and suddenly handed it to the police officer who was chasing Sung-Joon. After receiving the news, the police immediately set a trap to capture Sung-Joon. Sung-Joon's colleagues suspected that Sung-Joon and Sung-Hoon were not real brothers. As soon as he said that, Sung-Joon appeared and went straight to his brother. Suddenly, the spy captain threw down his phone. This made Sung-Joon immediately alert. Another colleague deliberately pressed the car horn, and everyone rushed over. Sung-Joon realized that Sung-Hoon betrayed him, so his eyes were filled with despair. After that, Sung-Joon quickly ran away from the scene. When he passed through an alley, he met his colleague Seok-Gu, but the two Seok-Gu deliberately lowered their heads because they believed that Sung-Joon could not be the culprit. After Sung-Joon returned home, dejected, Eun-Ki asked him what happened. Sung-Joon said disappointedly that his brother would not help him, but Eun-Ki sighed and said that Sung-Joon was wrong. Sung-Joon turned around and saw Sung-Hoon slowly walking towards him. Seeing that, Sung-Joon got up in excitement. A beautiful girl was drunk when she came out of the bar, but unexpectedly, the bastard driver noticed her. He immediately drove over. The girl staggered into the car without knowing that danger was approaching. While driving through the rear window, the cunning man saw the girl passed out from the drunkenness and immediately had evil thoughts in his heart. He drove off the main road to a remote place. When the girl woke up, she realized that something was strange around her. But at this time, the driver was nowhere to be seen, making the girl feel a chill down her spine. Suddenly, the car door opened. The man in black dragged the girl into a small, dark room. Eun-Ki received a phone call from the girl and told Eun-Ki to come and save her. When Eun-Ki arrived, the police had already sealed off the scene to conduct an investigation. Then Eun-Ki found the girl in a pile of dry leaves. At this time, she had no wounds all over her body, but fortunately, her life was not in danger. After waking up and being questioned by the police, the girl could not remember anything, making the criminal police very helpless. Just as the police were preparing to leave, the girl said that the bastard had a tattoo on his arm. The girl remembered that before she fell into a coma, the murderer kept scratching his arm. So the thing she remembered most was the tattoo on the murderer's arm. Then she drew the tattoo that looked like a spider. Eun-Ki took a picture of the drawing and gave it to Sung-Joon. After looking at it carefully, Sung-Joon said that he had seen this tattoo on the arm of the driver, Choi. Sung-Joon then looked at the photo of the injured girl and discovered that the method was very similar to the murderer's method of killing the chief's daughter. Sung-Joon suspected that the murderer was most likely the driver Choi, but Sung-Hoon said that just relying on these photos was not enough to conclude that he was the murderer. They needed to find convincing evidence. This sentence made Sung-Joon wake up. Sung-Joon suddenly remembered that he had been to the scene where Hae-jin was murdered and picked up a broken fake nail and handed it over to the forensic doctor for examination. Sung-Joon secretly went to find the forensic doctor, but scared her. But when she saw that it was Sung-Joon, the forensic doctor immediately regained her expression and scolded Sung-Joon for not seeing him visit her for so long. Sung-Joon immediately got to the main point. He asked her if the results of the previous examination of the fake nail were out yet. She said that DNA could not be determined from the fake nail. In other words, Sung-Joon had cleared the suspicion that he was the murderer. Sung-Joon then placed the results of the examination on the captain's desk, but he did not expect that he would be seen by the chief's men. After checking that there was no one around, this guy handed the report back to the chief and said that the suspect also wanted to interfere in the investigation. After confirming that no one else knew, the chief told him not to let a third person know about this and ordered to continue to capture Sung-Joon. But the chief was also confused. Could it be that his daughter was killed by someone else? At this time, driver Choi was preparing to bring Soju home when suddenly a whistle sounded from behind. He slowly stopped and turned around to look, but he could no longer hear the whistle. He did not pay any attention and went straight upstairs, not knowing that there was a person in black standing downstairs. Driver Choi was sitting inside drinking soju. Looking at his expression, it seemed like he was expecting something. At this time, Sung-Joon also arrived downstairs. As soon as he went upstairs, Sung-Joon discovered that the door was open. When Sung-Joon entered, he saw that driver Choi had already collapsed in a pool of blood. Just as Sung-Joon was getting suspicious, driver Choi's phone suddenly rang. The screen showed In Song's name. A member of the jury called, but Sung-Joon didn't say a word. At this time, after hearing that the police had arrived at the scene, Sung-Joon quickly climbed out the window and escaped. After returning to Eun-Ki's house, Sung-Joon immediately gave the phone to Sung-Hoon. Sung-Hoon found a mysterious recording from this phone that coincidentally happened to be before the driver was murdered. As expected, it was you, the person in court that day. During the trial, I accidentally glanced at you and I knew you recognized Mr. Baek. At that time, you guys called him a mad dog. Seeing you staring at the mad dog and the scar on your arm, I knew. It turns out you were number 7 in the welfare center that year. As soon as he finished speaking, the man in black took the wine bottle on the table and smashed it on the driver's head, killing him instantly. This recording confirmed that the murderer was among the members of the jury. Who the murderer was, in the end, was still a mystery. Moreover, the biggest suspect, driver Choi, had also been ruled out before. According to the recording, Sung-Joon imitated the suspect's steps and discovered that the suspect was a cripple. Sung-Joon immediately thought of the guy wearing glasses who was a member of the jury. After returning home, Eun-Ki said that the guy with glasses did not have the scar like in the recording, so the three of them fell into deep thought. Suddenly, Eun-Ki thought of something. At the party after Man-chun's trial, manager and acted very strangely. At that time, he had a conflict because of Hae-jin taking pictures. Their argument attracted Eun-Ki's attention. His leg was also crippled on one side, and there was a wound on his arm. Just like that, the guy with glasses was eliminated from the suspect list. After confirming the murderer, Sung-Joon immediately stood up and wanted to arrest him, but was stopped by Sung-Hoon. Based on this recording alone, it was not enough to prove Sung-Joon's innocence, so Sung-Hoon prepared to go find manager On alone. Eun-Ki was extremely worried, so he chased Sung-Hoon outside and asked if he needed help, but Sung-Hoon told Eun-Ki not to worry and not to trust anyone, whether it was Sung-Joon or Sung-Hoon. Eun-Ki froze for 5 seconds. Could Sung-Joon really be the murderer that everyone suspected? While Eun-Ki was sleeping, Sung-Joon quietly sat up and that scary look in his eyes once again appeared. The next day, manager An went to the police station to confess and said that he had killed driver Choi. But when the police told him that driver Choi was not dead, he immediately became extremely agitated and asked why that crazy guy was still alive. That driver Choi absolutely could not live. He absolutely could not be allowed to live. Since driver Choi was not in any danger of death, the police immediately released manager An. But they did not expect that as soon as manager An walked out of the police station gate, he was followed by 2 people. Then they directly dragged manager An into the car and took him to an abandoned factory. It turned out that the person who arrested manager An was Mr. Baek. Mr. Baek also discovered that manager An was the 7th child in the old welfare center. Miss Baek grabbed manager An and threatened him to tell them the news about Sung-Joon. Then Mr. Baek would let manager An go, but manager An laughed out loud because this scene reminded him of what Mr. Baek did 20 years ago to force him to betray his friends. At that time, manager An believed Mr. Baek, but in the end, he killed manager An's friends, which made manager An regret his whole life. Therefore, manager An absolutely would not make the same mistake and betray his friends again. Mr. Baek did not get the answer he wanted, so he got angry and told his subordinates to bury manager An alive. But the next day, a miraculous scene happened. Manager An untied himself and ran away. Someone must have saved manager An. He did not know if this person was Sung-Joon. At this time, Sung-Hoon secretly went to driver Choi and said that in the recording after manager An left, Sung-Hoon discovered that someone else had come. Sung-Hoon asked driver Choi who that person was. It turned out that not long after manager An left, driver Choi woke up. At this moment, a person dressed in black appeared before driver Choi's eyes. Then that person hit driver Choi and knocked him out on the spot. Driver Choi said that he was number 13. At this moment, driver Choi saw Sung-Hoon's face clearly. The expression on driver Choi's face immediately became extremely frightened. Sung-Hoon stared at driver Choi strangely. Just like that, driver Choi was scared to death by that gaze on the spot. At this time, Mr. Baek went up to visit driver Choi when he happened to run into Sung-Hoon, who was going down. When Miss Baek arrived at driver Driver Choi's room. He discovered that Driver Choi was dead. Who was the culprit? At midnight, a shaman was sitting in the deep forest chanting continuously. Suddenly, a gust of wind blew, and the candles around were immediately extinguished. She immediately became alert and constantly observed the surroundings. At this time, a group of people came, including a young boy who desperately shouted and begged her to save them. But the cowardly shaman chose to remain silent. However, when she looked straight into Yoonjae's eyes, her whole body trembled violently. When she stood up again, her expression became extremely strange. She rushed to the crowd and pointed at Yoonjae, trembling, saying that she had to kill him. If he lived, he would die. Everyone would die. And she had to kill that child. Suddenly, Yoonjae's expression changed, his eyes filled with murderous intent. Then the shaman woke up from her dream and took a deep breath. Luckily, it was just a dream. She grabbed the bowl of cold water next to her and drank it to calm down. She took a sip from the bowl and realized that it was red, which scared her so much that she almost choked. At this time, Sung-Joon had also gone to Manager An's residence to see if he could find any clues. Sung-Joon opened the door and saw that there was no one inside, but the bloody invitation on the table caught Sung-Joon's attention. When Sung-Joon picked it up to look, it was the wedding invitation of the daughter of the jury, Kang Young-ki. It turned out that today was the wedding day of Mr. Kang's daughter. Sung-Joon seemed to have a premonition that something big was about to happen. The wedding scene was extremely lively. Kang Young-ki was extremely happy, and all the members of the jury were there. Just when everyone was eagerly waiting for Mr. Kang's daughter's wedding, Eun-Ki saw Manager An also at the scene, so Eun-Ki immediately stood up and followed Manager An. But as soon as she reached the lobby, Manager An was nowhere to be seen, so Eun-Ki told Sung-Joon about this. After hearing the news, Sung-Joon immediately went to the wedding scene. Then someone poured white powder into the wineglass, which was the wineglass reserved for Kang Young-ki and his wife. The waiter brought 2 glasses of wine to Mr. Kang's table. Mr. Kang then raised his glass to express his gratitude to his family and friends and drank the glass. Very quickly, Mr. Kang began to feel unwell and tried his best to hold his throat. Everyone in the hall froze and watched as Mr. Kang collapsed to the ground. The scene became extremely chaotic. At this time, Sung-Joon also ran over and saw the figure of Manager An in the crowd. Sung-Joon hurriedly chased after Manager An, but he saw his brother Sung-Hoon. When Sung-Joon chased down to the basement, Sung-Hoon was nowhere to be seen. When Sung-Joon returned to the hall again, he saw a scene that made people's hair stand on end. Mr. Kang's daughter collapsed in a pool of blood, with 2 knife wounds on her face. At this time, Sung-Hoon was washing the blood off her hands in the bathroom. Could it be that the real culprit was Sung-Hoon? This single pregnant woman was on her way home when she felt uncomfortable all over. When she looked down, she saw that her water had broken. She looked at the public restroom across the street and an idea came to her mind. Just as she was crossing the street, a car was coming. Luckily, there was no danger. Manager An was currently the biggest suspect in Mr. Kang's murder. Through the surveillance camera, the police recognized Manager An at first sight, so they quickly launched a manhunt for Manager An. Seok-Jin secretly reported this news to Sung-Joon, and Sung-Joon decided to find Manager An to confront him. At this time, a car appeared in front of Sung-Joon. It turned out to be Sung-Hoon. Sung-Hoon came because he wanted to investigate with Sung-Joon. Sung-Joon then contacted Eun-Ki. After investigating, Eun-Ki discovered an address. Based on that address, Sung-Joon's group quickly found a woman, and this woman was the pregnant woman who was saved by Manager An. That was why Manager An became disabled. After that, Manager An often helped them and gave her a home. Hearing this, Sung-Hoon felt that Manager An did not seem like a bad person. Sung-Joon, who was standing next to him, was looking at the boy playing. At this moment, Sung-Joon immediately remembered a few things from before. He seemed to have played like that before. At that time, he even sprained his ankle and fell down. Thinking of this, Sung-Joon immediately rushed towards the child and hugged him tightly in his arms. The child's mother saw this and thought that Sung-Joon wanted to harm her son, so she ran over and pushed Sung-Joon away. Only then did Sung-Joon wake up and quickly stand up to apologize. On the way back, Sung-Joon did not say a word. He wondered what he had gone through in the beginning. At the same time, Eun-Ki contacted the caretaker at the orphanage. The staff said that Manager An had gone to a place called the Hope Welfare Center. After hanging up the phone, Eun-Ki immediately started searching online and took note of all the welfare homes that met the requirements. That night, she told Sung-Joon and Sung-Hoon about this. They prepared to go there the next day to ask. But the next morning, when Eun-Ki went to the hospital to pick up Yuna, she received a call from Seok-Gu saying that the captain would come to her house for a surprise checkup. So Eun-Ki hurried home to wake up Sung-Joon, who was sleeping soundly, but Yuna followed her. Seeing Eun-Ki and Sung-Joon's intimate actions, Yuna thought that there was something going on between the two of them. So, she started asking about everything. Yuna asked Eun-Ki why she hid the murderer in the house. Moreover, Yuna threatened to report to the police. Luckily, Sung-Hoon came in time to use his charm to to solve this problem. As soon as Sung-Joon escaped, the criminal police arrived at Eun-Ki's house. They broke into the house. Luckily, Eun-Ki had prepared early. The police did not find Sung-Joon. Turned out that the investigation team leader found out that Seok-Gu often used the phone to contact here. Eun-Ki explained that it was her phone. Eun-Ki and Seok-Gu were dating now, so it was normal for them to be related. Thanks to that lie, Eun-Ki was able to get the team leader to leave. That night, the director met with Mr. Baek and blamed Mr. Baek for not handling this matter smoothly. The director also said that he let manager An go because he wanted to lure Sung-Joon, but now 2 more lives had been lost. The director scolded Mr. Baek for not cooperating to eliminate Sung-Joon, but Mr. Baek said that this time the dead person was Mr. Kang, who was also the delivery man of the welfare center that year. Mr. Kang specialized in delivering food to the cafeteria for commission. Hearing this, the director immediately panicked. Could it be that the murderer wanted to take revenge on everyone at the welfare center? On this side, manager An was hiding under the bridge when he suddenly discovered a man in black appearing before his eyes. He still didn't know he was in danger. That day, the criminal police, Sung-Joon, received a mysterious message. When Sung-Joon clicked on the link to watch, he saw a video of manager An chained by a rope around his neck with a timer behind him. Every hour that passed, the rope above his head would tighten by 1 notch. If they wanted to save him, they had to find a specific location. The police found out that the sender's IP address was at an internet cafe. But when they arrived at the scene, there was no one there. At this time, the clock had passed 6 hours, and the rope was tightened even more. Manager An was tormented to the point of suffocation, so manager An could only stand on the chair next to him to catch his breath for a moment. Suddenly, Eun-Ki discovered a clue in the video. Sung-Joon immediately went closer to listen. It seemed to be a bell. It felt like the sound of a wall clock. Sung-Joon suddenly thought of something and picked up the recording on Driver Choi's phone and opened it and found that the sound was the same. So the two of them immediately went to Driver Choi's house. After opening the door, Sung-Joon ran towards manager An, but then Sung-Joon discovered that something was wrong. Sung-Joon looked up and saw that it was a mannequin. There were only 4 hours left and the rope was tightened again. Manager An couldn't sit anymore and could only stand up. Manager An was extremely scared. Then manager An looked around in despair. He realized that there was a high chance that he would die here. So manager An looked straight into the camera and said the words that he had kept hidden in his heart for many years. Manager An told Sung-Joon, "On this day 20 years ago, I betrayed you. I secretly told Baek Moon-kang about your escape plan because at that time I just wanted to escape that hell. Sorry Sung-Joon, I don't want that either." As soon as manager An finished speaking, the rope began to tighten again. If they didn't save manager An early, he would be strangled to death. On this side, the jury members were also watching the video. At this moment, the glasses guy's phone rang, but he hung up the phone worriedly. Suddenly, the background cloth in the video fell down. What appeared now was a series of strange numbers. They zoomed in to look. These numbers were extremely strange. The senior manager seemed to have understood something, so he quickly returned to his desk and took out a videotape from the drawer. Then he sneaked into the bathroom and cried while watching. At this time, Eun-Ki also investigated the welfare center where manager An used to stay. After Sung-Joon found out, he quickly went there. Sung-Joon arrived at the gate of the welfare center and saw the sign in front of the gate. At this time, his head felt dizzy and a voice kept calling Sung-Joon. At this time, manager An only had 24 minutes left. Sung-Joon tried to hold back pain and ran into the welfare center and searched each room. Suddenly, the man in black appeared and used a needle to stab Sung-Joon's neck, causing his vision to immediately become blurry. Seeing that the man in black was about to escape, Sung-Joon followed weakly. At this time, manager An was hanged, but Sung-Joon still did not give up on catching the man in black. Who was that man in black? The man in black slowly walked away, but his shoes attracted Sung-Joon's attention because this was the biggest clue about the suspect. At this moment, Sung-Joon was awakened by a loud scream. Following the scream, Sung-Joon found Sung-Hoon rescuing manager An. The two men joined forces to put manager An down, only to discover that manager An had already suffocated, so another person died tragically. Sung-Joon was completely agitated, so Sung-Joon immediately turned around to look for the culprit. Unexpectedly, Sung-Joon ran into Mr. Baker. The two sides did not say a word and directly rushed into a fight. After a fierce fight, Sung-Hoon and Sung-Joon fought with their bare hands, so they were captured by the enemy. Mr. Baker used an iron chain weighing dozens of kilograms to strangle Sung-Joon's neck because Mr. Baker also wanted Sung-Joon to taste the pain of witnessing the death of a loved one. Seeing that his brother was in danger, Sung-Joon immediately broke free from the grip and rushed hard at Mr. Baek. At this time, the police also arrived at the scene and quickly surrounded everyone. In the interrogation room, Sung-Joon kept remembering the appearance of the man in black. He felt that the person was both calm and confident. The shape of his shoe soles was still visible to Sung-Joon. While Sung-Joon was deep in thought, Officer Kang walked in. Sung-Joon quickly tended to his brother's wound. Captain Kang kept laughing at Sung-Joon for being such a good brother. Captain Kang told Sung-Joon to think carefully about how they knew where Sung-Joon was. On this side, the director distracted the management staff and went to meet Mr. Baker privately. immediately. Then he questioned Mr. Baker about why the plan to kill Sung-Joon failed. Unexpectedly, Mr. Baker grabbed the director by the collar and threatened that if you didn't let me go, I would drag you down with me. After being threatened, the director immediately went to Captain Kang and told him to find a chance to eliminate Mr. Baker. After hearing this, Captain Kang froze on the spot and said, "How could he kill someone?" Unexpectedly, the director burst out laughing and said that this wasn't the first time Captain Kang had killed someone. It turned out that the scene of Manchun's wife's murder was the evidence that Captain Kang had fabricated to turn Sung-Joon into a murderer. Before leaving, they discovered that there was a witness at the scene, which was Manchun's son. As a result, Captain Kang immediately had malicious thoughts. Faced with the boss's threats, Captain Kang had no choice but to compromise. Captain Kang took Mr. Baker to the bathroom. When he saw that no one was around, Captain Kang immediately uncuffed Mr. Baker. Unexpectedly, as soon as Captain Kang uncuffed him, Mr. Baker grabbed Captain Kang's head and slammed it directly into the sink. Such a strong impact caused Captain Kang to die very quickly on the spot. Then Baker went to the interrogation room where Sung-Joon was and took advantage of Sung-Joon's unpreparedness to strangle Sung-Joon. Sung-Joon was strangled to the point of barely breathing. After a while, he stopped moving. At this time, Sung-Hoon had already handed over the video recorded by the flycam to the police. Through the video, the police discovered that person who pushed Manchun down was Mr. Baker. He then went to Manchun's house to kill Manchun's wife. Everyone immediately realized that Sung-Joon was in danger, but when they arrived at the interrogation room, they saw Sung-Joon trying to kill Mr. Baker, so they stopped Sung-Joon. The director just entered and discovered that his big plan had gone wrong. It seemed that he could no longer cover up the truth. The next day, the police station held a press conference to reveal to the public the murderer in the Manchun family murder case, thus clearing Sung-Joon of suspicion. At Manager An's funeral, the jury of 8 people gradually became reduced to just a few of them. The senior manager uncle said that the murderer had been caught and he could finally sleep peacefully, but the psychic told him to watch more news. Then the guy with glasses handed the phone to the manager. Sung-Joon has vindicated himself, and the murderer was someone else. The manager's face immediately changed. At that time, everyone's expressions became serious because they were afraid that the murderer would come looking for them. After that, Sung-Joon also continued to work and searched Miss Baek's house. Unexpectedly, he discovered the wife's body in the refrigerator. Gradually, Sung-Joon also discovered that Miss Baek's often contacted someone. So he tried calling that number again and was surprised to find the chief's voice on the other end of the line. Sung-Joon immediately told the captain about this. He said that Mr. Baek's was closely related to the chief. It seemed like they were hiding something. In order to investigate clearly, Sung-Joon and the captain decided to put on a play. That night, the chief looked at the photos of corpses' bones in his hands and thought deeply. Suddenly, a man's scream came from outside, so the chief hurriedly put the photos away. Then the captain rushed in drunk and kept scolding the chief. The captain said all the angry words in his heart. Then the chief went to teach the chief a lesson. While the chief started to act, Sung-Joon quietly took the chief's phone. After a moment of hesitation, Sung-Joon put the phone in his pocket and hurriedly pulled the captain out. After returning to the office, Sung-Joon and the captain immediately opened the chief's phone to investigate. Inside was the entire call history with Mr. Baek's. From this, it could be seen that this relationship was definitely not simple. Then, Sung-Joon opened the message section and saw the video of the chief's daughter being murdered. Inside was a recording of the entire process of her being killed. After seeing the murderer's cruel tricks, Sung-Joon felt nauseous. He never expected that the murderer could be so cruel. The next day, Sung-Joon went out for a jog like every day, but halfway there, his shoelaces came untied. Just as Sung-Joon was tying his shoelaces, a familiar shoe sole appeared in front of him, and this thick sole was exactly the same as the shoe sole of the murderer who murdered Manager On. After returning home, Sung-Joon happily sat carving wooden figures, and his skillful use of the knife seemed to be cutting the woman's mouth. Sung-Joon took out the wooden figures one by one and placed them on the table. Their hands were intertwined, and their hearts were connected, just like the brothers and sisters in the orphanage back then. At that time, in order to escape from the welfare center, they kept their faith and stood side by side. Thinking about his previous hellish life, Sung-Joon couldn't help but cry. But then Sung-Joon's eyes became extremely fierce. This boy's name was Eun-Ji because he had been treated so cruelly since he was little. After growing up, he wanted to kill all those who bullied him. Just when everyone thought that the culprit was Eun-Ji, Eun-Ki discovered that Eun-Ji had died 20 years ago. If Eun-Ji was dead, then who was the person who had been carrying out the revenge plan? At this time, Sung-Joon was placing the photos of the remaining 5 members of the jury on the table and scratching his head thoughtfully. Then, Sung-Joon took out another photo, and that person turned out to be Eun-Ki. But what was Sung-Hoon doing with Eun-Ki's photo? On this side, Sung-Joon and everyone else were studying the video of the director's daughter being murdered and discovered that it was exactly the same as the place where Manager On was murdered. The location was all in the Hope Welfare Center prison. Sung-Joon guessed that the previous chief must have had some secret that he couldn't tell anyone, so he hid the video of his daughter being murdered and secretly joined hands with Mr. Beck to solve the murderer. Therefore, the criminal must be the child in the orphanage 20 years ago. The 5 members of the jury must also be related to the welfare center. Then the next victim must be one of them. After thinking this, Sung-Joon went to the chef from before and found out that his younger brother had passed away when was young. The chef said that his brother had gone missing and couldn't be found, so he registered death for his younger brother. Sung-Joon then contacted the chef's parents. They said that they had gone to the Hope Welfare Center but couldn't find their son, so they could only ask for help from the director there, and that director was the current chief. On this side, the colleague also investigated that 20 years ago, the senior manager also came to interview that welfare center, but for some reason, he suddenly stopped in the middle of the school. Then Sung-Joon called the shaman to ask about the Hope Welfare Center, but she said she didn't know and asked him where the center was. After she learned that the center was in Sosan Mountain, she immediately remembered a night 20 years ago. Several tall men were holding a group of children, and among them was a boy who desperately shouted for help to her. After carefully recalling, the shaman remembered that there was a child wearing a number 13 outfit. She said that at that time, after seeing the child's eyes, she was extremely scared because he was full of murderous intent. After saying that, she suddenly had a violent convulsion and said, "Kill him, I must kill him. If you let him live, you will die. We will all die." After returning to the police station, Sung-Joon found some clues. There were 3 people involved in the welfare center at the moment. As for Eun-Ki and the guy with glasses, there were no clues yet. At this moment, the guy with glasses suddenly came to say that he was adopted and had been in a car accident, so he couldn't remember many things. After a while of questioning, Sung-Joon invited the guy with glasses to the fast food restaurant he often went to. Just after ordering, Sung-Joon received a call from Eun-Ki. After Sung-Joon left, the owner stared at the guy with glasses as if she was seeing a relative. On this side, Eun-Ki knew from the nun that Eun-Jae had died 20 years ago, so Eun-Ki took Sung-Joon to the cemetery to confirm. As soon as he arrived in front of the grave, Sung-Joon's head started to ache again. Then some fragmented memories gradually appeared, and in these fragments of memories, it seemed like Sung-Hoon was constantly calling Sung-Joon. Sung-Joon still didn't know he was adopted. Sung-Joon couldn't even remember who he was, so he couldn't remember this. Sung-Joon had a huge headache about his identity, so he drank one glass after another. Sung-Joon quickly collapsed at the table. Eun-Ki called Sung-Hoon to take Sung-Joon home, but as soon as Sung-Joon lay down on the bed, he started talking in his sleep. The person at the park, he told Sung-Joon, and he called Sung-Joon Eun-Jae. After listening, Sung-Hoon went to the bathroom to get an eyebrow razor and cut a line on his arm. On this side, a whistle suddenly rang out, breaking the quiet night. The girl was curious and went out to check the situation. At this time, a man in black was slowly walking towards the girl. The girl carefully hid in the corner and looked. Suddenly, an arm grabbed the girl from behind. The girl's mouth was covered, and the man in black revealed a sinister smile. The criminal police have yet to find any clues about the murderer. They reviewed the video of the case and finally found a loophole. A man in a black hat had passed through the room of the dead. It seemed that he was the biggest suspect in this case. At this moment, Sung-Hoon was wearing that familiar outfit and went to an alley through GPS. It turned out that Sung-Hoon had been following Eun-Ki all along, but Sung-Hoon's mysterious actions were noticed by Yuna. Yuna asked Sung-Hoon if he liked Eun-Ki. Seeing that Sung-Hoon did not admit it, Yuna began to mumble that Eun-Ki was the only person who was good to Yuna. Therefore, Yuna absolutely would not allow anyone to harm Eun-Ki. That night, Sung-Joon went to Mr. Baek and told him that Eun-Jae had died 20 years ago. Sung-Joon then gave Mr. Baek Eun-Jae's death certificate. Seeing this, Mr. Baek frowned and wondered if he had misunderstood Sung-Joon all this time. Suddenly, Sung-Joon stood up and approached Mr. Baek and said, "If it wasn't Eun-Jae, then who was the one who killed Mr. Baek's daughter?" Sung-Joon then advised Mr. Baek to tell him who was jealous of Mr. Baek. Sung-Joon would definitely punish him. Mr. Baek didn't say anything, but he already had his own plan. Mr. Baek then contacted his subordinates and told them to immediately investigate the matter. Very quickly, Mr. Baek's subordinates went to a welfare center and found Eun-Ki's mother. Eun-Ki's mother said that Eun-Jae was transferred that year, so she didn't know the specific situation. After Mr. Baek's subordinates left, Sung-Joon appeared before Eun-Ki's mother again. Sung-Joon wanted to know about the Hope Welfare Center. Eun-Ki's mother hesitated and didn't want to say anything, as if she was afraid of something. Sung-Joon said that the murderer was now taking revenge on all the members of the jury, and Eun-Ki was likely to be the next victim. Hearing this, Eun-Ki's mother began to tell that there was a boy number 11 who was older than Eun-Jae that year. Both of them grew up in an orphanage. On this side, Eun-Ki was looking for information about the welfare center. From her friends at the welfare center that year, Eun-Ki found pictures of 3 children. At this time, a man in black appeared downstairs. He hummed a song and slowly walked towards Eun-Ki's house. Out of curiosity, Eun-Ki boldly went out to check. When Sung-Joon arrived at Eun-Ki's house, Eun-Ki was nowhere to be seen. The photo on the computer accidentally caught Sung-Joon's attention, and in it was a boy that Sung-Joon Sung-Joon seemed to know. Sung-Joon's head once again felt a sharp pain and a memory appeared. Sung-Joon only saw his father calling Sung-Hoon to see who had come. The person in this memory was exactly the same as in the photo. Sung-Joon seemed to understand something, but he did not believe that his brother Sung-Hoon was the culprit. Sung-Joon immediately returned to his brother's house, but when he opened the door, Sung-Hoon was nowhere to be seen. But when Sung-Joon saw the 5 wooden figures on Sung-Hoon's desk, he was completely shocked. Sung-Joon conveniently picked up one of the figures and had the number 11 carved on its back. In fact, Sung-Hoon was the one who had the best relationship with Eun-Ji. Sung-Hoon had always helped Eun-Ji take revenge. During the night, a group of people discovered a woman's body covered in blood in a ruined house, hugging her knees and sitting curled up in a safe. Eun-Ki couldn't believe it when she saw Yuna's body in front of her eyes. At this moment, Eun-Ki couldn't hold back her tears anymore. It was just an hour ago that Sung-Joon discovered that Sung-Hoon was Eun-Ji's best friend, and also the 11th that year. Sung-Joon opened the drawer and found many photos in it, and the people in these photos were the remaining members of the jury. Sung-Joon didn't want to believe that Sung-Hoon was the murderer, so Sung-Joon took out his phone and called Sung-Hoon to confirm, but no one answered the other end of the line. Realizing that something bad had happened, Sung-Joon immediately contacted Seok-Gu. Sung-Joon asked Seok-Gu to help him investigate Sung-Hoon's current location. At that time, Seok-Gu was investigating the scene of the child welfare center. They discovered blood stains there. The surveillance camera was also deliberately sabotaged by someone, so the team leader guessed that the culprit had come to Eun-Ki. They then investigated the surrounding cameras. Sung-Joon recognized his brother's car at first sight. After Sung-Hoon drove to a wild place, he disappeared from the surveillance range. Sung-Joon immediately followed that route and discovered Sung-Hoon's car at a villa. After getting out of the car, Sung-Joon discovered that Sung-Hoon was continuously burying dirt in a hole, as if he was trying to cover something up. Sung-Joon thought about Eun-Ki's disappearance, so he rushed over to ask Sung-Hoon where Eun-Ki was. Sung-Hoon told Sung-Joon, "Are you afraid that I'll kidnap Eun-Ki and bury her here?" Sung-Joon was scared, so he pushed Sung-Hoon away and frantically dug the dirt out of the hole. At this time, someone was standing not far away. It was Eun-Ki. Only then did Sung-Joon breathe a sigh of relief. It turned out that Eun-Ki heard the whistle and went out to check. Sung-Hoon pulled Eun-Ki back because the murderer's target this time was Eun-Ki. That's why Sung-Hoon saved Eun-Ki's life. Sung-Joon asked Eun-Ki why she didn't report it to the police. Sung-Hoon replied that he stopped Eun-Ki because he didn't trust the police. Sung-Joon then questioned Sung-Hoon and asked who he was. Why did he hide so many things? Sung-Joon said frankly that the number 11 in the orphanage was Sung-Hoon. Sung-Hoon explained that it was a dark memory that he could never erase for the rest of his life. If he said it, everyone would suspect him. Even though he was number 11, Sung-Hoon was not the murderer. Just as Sung-Hoon was about to leave, the phone in his pocket rang. Someone had sent Sung-Hoon a photo of him and Yuna. Only then did Sung-Hoon realize that the murderer's target was not Eun-Ki but Yuna. Sung-Hoon then said that Yuna was in danger. Eun-Ki then remembered that she had left Yuna alone in the wooden room, so they immediately returned. When they arrived, Yuna was already dead in the safe. After that incident, Sung-Hoon was suspected and had to take over the investigation. The chief had never met Sung-Hoon before, so he asked the team leader who this was. The team leader immediately said that Sung-Hoon was Sung-Joon's older brother. The chief looked at Sung-Hoon and was so scared that his face turned pale. The chief immediately went to Mr. Baek and said that the couple did not adopt Sung-Joon but Sung-Hoon. The chief then told Miss Baek to eliminate Sung-Hoon because he was afraid that he would reveal his previous secret. But Mr. Baek burst out laughing and said that I was now a prisoner, and if you wanted to eliminate me, you would have to do it by yourself. The chief saw that he couldn't give orders to Mr. Baek, so he immediately played a psychological card. The chief asked Mr. Baek if he didn't want to avenge his daughter. Then the chief told Mr. Baek that the only person who could help you get out was me. After saying that, the chief left the cell with a smug look. After the chief left, Miss Baek started to go crazy and banged his head against the door. The police saw this and rushed to stop him. The girl was locked in a safe, her body covered with wounds. After drawing blood to write her last words, she died from excessive blood loss. This was already the 4th girl in the murder case. The female forensic doctor told Sung-Joon that the murder weapon was identical to the previous 3 girls. It was clear that this was the same person. But before that, Sung-Hoon, who was the most suspected, was eliminated from the list of suspects. So who was the murderer? Sung-Joon remembered that when he interrogated Sung-Hoon, he mentioned the number 12. So is number 12 the real culprit? Sung-Joon then asked Seok-Gu to bring the results of Yuna's phone check. They found out that Yuna and Sung-Hoon's relationship seemed to be very intimate. And on the last page of the document, Sung-Joon found a new clue. Sung-Hoon had been to driver Choi's house and then looked at the time records. May 10th was the day manager An had an incident. Sung-Joon remembered that when he wanted to go to driver Choi's house to find manager An, Sung-Hoon stopped him and told him not to waste time. It was clear that Sung-Hoon knew that manager An wasn't there. But why did Sung-Joon never hear Sung-Hoon mention that he had been to driver Choi's house? There was definitely something fishy about this. Sung-Joon once again suspected his brother. Sung-Joon took Sung-Hoon's photo photo and asked the owner of the photo shop if he had ever been there. The owner said Sung-Hoon came to get the video from that day. Furthermore, the photo shop owner took out his phone to show Sung-Joon the hot air balloon video of that day's event, but Sung-Joon clearly remembered that Sung-Hoon said that on the day Mon-chun fell from the roof, he was in front of the hospital and saw a drone flying overhead. After piecing together the whole incident, Sung-Joon realized that Sung-Hoon was not simple. Sung-Hoon had known who Man-chun's killer was long ago, but why did he hide the evidence and pretend that he didn't know anything? While Sung-Joon was deep in thought, Eun-Ki called. It turned out that Eun-Ki had knew from her mother that the senior manager might have a video of the Hope Welfare Center. Eun-Ki had told Sung-Joon this clue. Just as Sung-Joon came to inquire and investigate, a familiar figure appeared again on the surveillance camera. Sung-Joon recognized it as Sung-Hoon at first sight. It seemed like it was time to find convincing evidence. Taking advantage of the fact that Sung-Hoon was not home, Sung-Joon rummaged through his belongings everywhere. Sung-Joon even searched the dressing room but still could not find the black hat. At this moment, the sound of the door opening rang out. Sung-Hoon walked in and asked Sung-Joon what he was looking for in my house, but Sung-Joon hid it and said he was not looking for anything. Just as Sung-Hoon was about to enter the room, Sung-Joon called Sung-Hoon back and asked him what day he went to look for the drone. Sung-Hoon said it was not a drone but a hot air balloon. Sung-Hoon's answer made Sung-Joon even more suspicious, but Sung-Joon lied and said he must have remembered wrongly at first. But Sung-Joon still insisted on asking Sung-Hoon what day he went to look for the hot air balloon. Sung-Hoon replied that he had just gotten it not long ago. Sung-Joon then quietly went to the garage. When Sung-Joon opened the trunk of Sung-Hoon's car, he found the black hat and a pair of shoes in the bag. Sung-Joon was so worried that he couldn't breathe. Sung-Joon carefully turned the shoe over to see. The shoe prints were exactly the same as the shoe prints of the man in black. The real culprit was Sung-Hoon. When he got home, Sung-Joon wanted to find Sung-Hoon to ask him clearly, but he heard Eun-Ki say that Sung-Hoon had gone out. So Sung-Joon drove after Sung-Hoon. Sung-Hoon seemed to have also discovered that Sung-Joon was following him. Sung-Hoon drove to the suburbs and got out of the car at the deepest part of the forest. Just when Sung-Joon thought he was about to expose Sung-Hoon's identity, the man in black slowly walked towards Sung-Hoon from the dense forest. Before Sung-Joon could react, the man in black had already pulled out a knife and stabbed Sung-Hoon. Then the man in black disappeared into the night. Sung-Joon hurriedly ran towards Sung-Hoon. After Sung-Hoon was assassinated, Sung-Joon stood by the hospital bed and thought for a long time. Sung-Joon didn't understand why Sung-Hoon would go see the man in black in the middle of the night. Could it be that there was some secret between the two of them? Look at me, Yoon-jae, don't. Sung-Joon suddenly woke up. The dream was so real that it woke Sung-Joon up. It turned out that Sung-Hoon had always used his own method to find the murderer. It seemed that Sung-Joon had wrongly blamed Sung-Hoon before. The next day, Sung-Joon returned to the scene of Sung-Hoon's assassination. Bloodstains were imprinted on the ground. After carefully searching, Sung-Joon discovered a camera over a meter tall on the lawn not far away. Inside it was a picture of the murderer. Sung-Joon was very sure that this person was the man in black he saw in the hallway of the welfare center on the day manager Ann was murdered. Of the 5 children who had escaped from the orphanage at first, only number 12 and number 24 were missing. Sung-Joon immediately thought of Mr. Baek. Just as Sung-Joon was about to go find Mr. Baek, he realized that he was no longer in his cell. He had been locked up in a mental hospital by the chief on the grounds that he had gone crazy. Although Mr. Baek really looked crazy on the outside, with his sharpness, Sung-Joon knew that this was definitely a play created by Mr. Baek and the chief. So Sung-Joon decided to find the chief to ask for clarification. Sung-Joon asked the chief why he sent Mr. Baek to a mental hospital, but the chief asked Sung-Joon back that if the crazy person was not sent to a mental hospital, then where would he be sent? Seeing that the chief was still so stubborn, Sung-Joon couldn't help but say that the Hope Welfare Center was under the chief's management at that time. What exactly did the chief do to the children there? The chief told Sung-Joon that if he wanted to know, he should go find your mother. Sung-Joon's mother was now a minister. Just as Sung-Joon's mother was on her way back to the office, someone came and blocked her way. The woman said that my son had gone crazy after leaving the Hope Welfare Center. Although Guk-hee was stunned for a few seconds, she still pretended to tell the woman to go home first. She would handle it. But after returning to work, Guk-hee told her subordinates to forbid the woman from appearing there again. Sung-Joon, who had just arrived, saw the whole scene. When he saw the words Hope Welfare Center on the sign, Sung-Joon called the woman over. After revealing her identity as a police officer, the woman took Sung-Joon home. She then told Sung-Joon that she had gone there to pick up her son because she heard that the welfare center was about to close. But after she returned home, her son was still the same. She also said that she couldn't call her son by name because he would lose control if she called his name, so she had to call him number 45. Sung-Joon tried to talk to the woman's son, but Sung-Joon scared him so much that he kept backing away. So Sung-Joon had no choice but to ask Eun-Ki for help. He told Eun-Ki to think of a way to approach the woman's son. The next day, Eun-Ki went to the woman's house and saw her son writing down a number on a piece of paper. After a while, the two gradually became good friends and Eun-Ki gradually learned the name of number 24 from him. On this side, the guy with glasses was standing in front of the missing person notice board and was just hanging around. When the restaurant owner asked him what he was doing there, In-seok said that he was going to eat but didn't know that the restaurant was closed today. Just as In-seok was leaving, the owner enthusiastically told him to come in and prepared a sumptuous meal for him. While the two were talking about child on the missing person notice board, the owner said that the people on this notice was the son she had been searching for 20 years. At this time, In-seok also confessed that he was the child who had gone missing 20 years ago. In-seok also said that the day his mother went missing was the last time he saw her. The mother held In-seok's hand tightly and cried silently, but the two of them didn't know that this scene had been seen by someone outside the door. In order to thank the police for helping her search for her son for a long time, the owner specially invited everyone to her house for a meal. At this time, the chief called her into the office. This scene was noticed by Sung-Joon. That night at party, In-seok accidentally wet his pants while his mother was helping. In-seok wiped the water off his pants. Sung-Joon suddenly discovered a scar on In-seok's ankle. When number 12 was running away, his leg was caught in a trap and was seriously injured. Therefore, Sung-Joon continuously suspected that In-seok was number 12. Very quickly, the forensic team had a new clue through testing the murder weapon on Sung-Hoon. Sung-Joon discovered that the murder weapon was a knife that could only be made by one of the two top craftsmen in the country. Based on the shape of the fragments, it could be guessed that it was an extremely sharp sashimi knife. Sung-Joon immediately remembered a place and hurriedly went to find Young-soo. Just as Sung-Joon was investigating the situation, Eun-Ki called to say that she already knew the name of number 24. Number 24 was Hyun-soo. As soon as Young-soo heard his brother's name, he secretly pushed the handle of the knife on the cabinet inside. However, this small action of Young-soo could not escape Sung-Joon's eyes. Sung-Joon went inside and took it out. When Sung-Joon opened the paper wrapped around the knife, inside was a knife covered in blood. Young-soo was then taken to the police station. Facing Sung-Joon's questioning, Young-soo answered all the questions without hiding anything. Young-soo said that he stabbed Sung-Hoon that night, but from Young-soo's evasive eyes, Sung-Joon saw a clue. Sung-Joon knew very well that Young-soo was not the real culprit. Following the clue of the murder weapon, Sung-Joon went to a blacksmith shop. Sung-Joon asked the owner if he had ever seen the knife in this photo. The owner said that this knife was indeed made by him. This made Sung-Joon happy. Sung-Joon then asked the owner if he remembered who bought it, but he couldn't remember who bought it. However, he remembered that he had a habit of keeping a register. Each knife he made had its own number. Based on the serial number, the boss quickly found out who bought this knife. At that time, the name of the person who bought this knife was Eun-Ji. Eun-Ji was a young man. He said that he wanted to buy a gift for his younger brother, and his younger brother seemed to be running a Japanese restaurant. Could it be that the person who had been impersonating Eun-Ji was Hyun-soo, Young-soo's older brother? At this time, behind the mountain, the police discovered countless children's skeletons, and surprisingly, the number 24 was also among them. Based on the clues in his hand, Sung-Joon eliminated the people whose identities he already knew. When he reached the number 13, Jung Eun-ji, Sung-Joon seemed to have thought of something. The inscription on the regalia, the name on the blackboard, and the last words Yuna left before she died all seemed to be the same. Could it be that what Yuna left behind was the name of a person? After discovering this clue, Sung-Joon showed the last words to Eun-Ki and asked her if she had ever seen this name, but because she was so heartbroken over Yuna's passing, Eun-Ki eventually returned to her room without discovering any important clues. After wiping away her tears, Eun-Ki tried to calm down. The scene from that day immediately appeared in her mind. A kind young man. It turned out that the clue Yuna left behind was that person. Eun-Ki immediately told Sung-Joon about this. Sung-Joon also saw the original photo of In-seok in the adoption file, which was identical to the photo of Yoon-Jae on the cell phone. It turned out that In-seok was Yoon-Jae. At this moment, figure was slowly approaching Sung-Hoon's hospital bed. On the night Sung-Hoon was assassinated, Sung-Hoon could clearly see In-seok's face under his black clothes. Sung-Hoon opened his eyes wide in fear. On a chilly morning, the boy was happily eating ice cream when his mother showed a sad expression and told him that she was going to the bathroom for a while and that he absolutely should not run around. The innocent boy nodded after hearing this. The mother couldn't bear to leave and hugged the boy tightly. After that, the mother coldly left and quickly got on a bus. It turned out that she wanted to abandon her child, but when she arrived at the next stop, the woman regretted it and turned around to run back to the park, but the boy was nowhere to be seen. At this time, she was extremely regretful, but it was too late. The boy had been taken to the welfare center. Every day, he was forced to do hard work. If he didn't work hard, he would be scolded by the warden. The boy could only hide in a corner and cry quietly. Yoon-Jae sympathized with the new boy. Yoon-Jae asked him what he was doing here. The boy answered Yoon-Jae that he missed his mother very much. Yoon-Jae then asked him if he had a mother. Why did he still come here? Was he also abandoned like the others? After hearing that, the boy said that he was not abandoned, but that his mother wanted to go to the bathroom. Yoon-Jae told the boy that his mother wanted to go to the bathroom, but she didn't come back, right? After hearing Yoon-Jae, the boy could only look down in disappointment. At this time, time, Yoon-Jae asked him if he wanted me to help you kill her. The boy looked up in surprise after hearing that. Not long after, while running away, the boy got his leg caught in a trap, but because he didn't get treatment, he passed away. The boy's mother was still happily cooking breakfast, not knowing that the boy in front of her was actually the murderous demon Yoon-Jae. Yoon-Jae conveniently took out a peach. He had just taken a bite when the owner quickly stopped him because she knew that her son would be allergic to peaches. But Yoon-Jae coldly smiled and said that what he liked to eat was peaches. The boss immediately froze in place. Only then did she realize that the person in front of her was not her son, but she did not tell the truth, only saying that she was old and might have remembered wrongly. On this side, after knowing that In-Sok was Yoon-Jae, Sung-Joon immediately went to Sung-Hoon and asked him if he saw the killer's face clearly. Sung-Hoon said that it was Yoon-Jae. After receiving the answer, Sung-Joon immediately informed his colleagues to arrest Yoon-Jae. Seok-Gu quickly went to the company and discovered that the identity information that Yoon-Jae used belonged to someone else. Sung-Joon felt that the owner might be in danger, so he went straight to her house, but he only saw the phone left on the table. At this time, Mr. Beck was locked in the oil tank and kept shaking it violently. Finally, he knocked it over. He thought he could escape, but Yoon-Jae came out of the car. Mr. Bae kept begging Yoon-Jae to spare him, but Yoon-Jae said that I would not kill you for now. Then Yoon-Jae pushed him back into the tank. At this moment, Young-Soo slowly walked over and witnessed everything with his own eyes. Young-Soo asked Yoon-Jae if he was also the culprit. Meanwhile, on this side, the chief had just returned to his office when the phone on the table rang. He opened it and saw the image of himself bullying Yoon-Jae before. The chief immediately felt confused and immediately called that number back and found out that the person was Mr. Bae. So the chief immediately went to Mr. Bae and told him about this. Moreover, the chief also said that it was very likely that Yoon-Jae had instructed Miss Bae to do it. So the chief and Miss Bae decided to take this opportunity to eliminate Yoon-Jae. The next day, Sung-Joon discovered a body inside an iron box. This was a gift from Yoon-Jae to Sung-Joon. An hour ago, text message broke the silence of the morning. The message said that Eun-Ki's mother had been kidnapped. Eun-Ki was extremely frightened and called that number again, but that the person who answered the phone was Yoon-Jae. Eun-Ki warned Yoon-Jae not to harm her mother or she would come to settle the score with Yoon-Jae. She would also settle the score with him because he was kill Yoona. But Yoon-Jae said that your mother's safety was in yours hands. He told Eun-Ki to come out later. A taxi would come to pick Eun-Ki up. Eun-Ki was about to send a distress signal to Sung-Joon when Yoon-Jae warned her not to call the police. So Eun-Ki could only obediently run out. At this time, there was indeed a taxi on the road. Eun-Ki went closer to see, and it was Young-Soo, the chef of the Japanese restaurant. Could they be accomplices? At the same time, Sung-Hoon learned from his father that his mother had disappeared. Moreover, before she left, she had taken a large sum of money. Returning to the police station, they listed the names of the police chief, the restaurant owner, and Uncle Bae also played the missing person game. Sung-Joon immediately thought of Yoon-Jae. Sung-Joon suspected that Yoon-Jae had gathered them and hidden them somewhere. After returning home, Sung-Joon noticed the numbers 240, which were originally written as 45. They were all marked, but Sung-Hoon clearly remembered that there had never been such special markings before. After Sung-Hoon looked at them over and over again, he remembered that this was the place where Yoon-Jae was being held. But when they arrived at the front gate of the villa, they discovered that the place was filled with bombs. Sung-Joon felt very strange. If there were so many people locked up here, why was there no movement at all? But Sung-Joon didn't dare to act rashly, because once he opened this door, the entire mansion would explode. At this time, Yoon-Jae called to say that he had prepared a gift for Sung-Joon. He told Sung-Joon to open the oil tank next to him and see. Meanwhile, Yoon-Jae was watching their every move from afar. From the conversation with Yoon-Jae just now, it seemed that Sung-Joon had found a new clue. When Sung-Joon opened the door, the house would explode at the same time. In that house, all the missing people turned out to be. Yoon-Jae wasn't here. He was just deliberately stalling for time. So the only place he could go around here was the orphanage. At this time, in the welfare center, the chief had woken up. He looked around and found that all the missing people related to the welfare center were here. He remembered that, at that time, he and Mr. Bae were discussing how to deal with Yoon-Jae. So the chief brought the money himself, so that after Yoon-Jae handed over the evidence, he would wait for Mr. Beck to come and kill Yoon-Jae to silence him. But the chief waited for a long time but still did not see Mr. Beck. He only saw Yoon-Jae playing a familiar song and slowly approaching. The chief was so scared that he kept retreating, but no matter how fast the director ran, he could not run as fast as Yoon-Jae's anesthetic arrow. Just like that, the chief fainted on the spot. The chief thought that Mr. Beck had betrayed him, so when he saw Miss Beck, he immediately went crazy. The chief immediately rushed forward, grabbed Mr. Beck by the collar, intending to beat him up, but was pushed away by Mr. Beck. It turned out that on the way here, Mr. Beck had seen Yoon-Jae in black. Yoon-Jae deliberately challenged Mr. Beck to run deep into the jungle. Because of that, Miss Beck got caught in a hunting trap, and just like that, Mr. Beck was also brought here. At this time, everyone had woken up. Then the bomb at the door caught their attention. Just when everyone was in a panic, a voice came from the surveillance camera. Now, the real trial officially begins, Yoon-Jae told them through the loudspeaker. loudspeaker that as long as they could choose the first person to die within the allotted time, he would spare the others. Otherwise, they would all die. After saying that, Eun-Jae adjusted the bomb's time to 10 minutes. Mr. Baek immediately burst out laughing because he was very good at this. He picked up a chair and threw it at everyone. Eun-Ki tried to calm everyone down, but if they couldn't choose someone to die, they wouldn't be able to get out of here. They had to choose someone, but who would they choose to die? At this moment, the restaurant owner took the initiative to stand up. She didn't have a son anymore, so she didn't want to live anymore for a long time. She begged Eun-Jae to spare the others. She was willing to die in their place, but a new problem arose. Who would be the one to kill her? Mr. Baek stood up to kill her, but Eun-Ki blocked her way. 4 minutes had passed. If they didn't kill her, everyone would die. So the chief urged everyone to act quickly. After speaking, he wanted to pull Eun-Ki out, but she said that if they chose people to die, the guilty person had to die first. Seeing this, the shaman immediately pointed out that Mr. Baek had dragged the children away at first. But Mr. Baek said that at first, not only did the shaman not save the children, she also shouted that Eun-Jae had to be killed. As for Miss Bae PD, he was bribed and gave up on exposing the shady business at the welfare center. The person who bribed him was Sung-Joon's mother. Then, Eun-Ki's mother used a non-specific treatment on the child, causing him to die early. Everyone here is an accomplice, and the chief is the one who is most guilty. In order to cheat the huge insurance money, he sent all the lost children to the orphanage and imprisoned them. He also lied to their parents that they could not find them. The owner of the restaurant was extremely desperate when she heard this and blamed herself for trusting him too much at first. After losing her child, she immediately reported it to the police, but was taken back to the welfare center by the chief. At this time, the woman blamed herself for abandoning her child. The chief was the most cruel person. The scene where the chief sneaked into the girl's room in the villa was recorded by Eun-Ki's mother. Eun-Ki's mother also said that it was the chief who killed Eun-Jae. Therefore, everyone agreed to let the chief die. In order to save his life, the chief pointed out that Mr. Baek had killed 24 people. He hung all the children on steel wires and beat them until they were barely breathing. After hearing that, Eun-Ki loudly scolded Mr. Baek for not being worthy of being human. He didn't even spare children. This sentence made Mr. Baek completely crazy. Just when Miss Baek grabbed Eun-Ki and wanted to attack her, Eun-Ki's mother stood up to protect her. Eun-Ki's mother said that Eun-Ki was Mr. Baek's daughter. Miss Baek immediately froze. Then the woman revealed the secret that she had kept hidden for 20 years. Actually, Eun-Ki's father was Mr. Baek. Finally, Eun-Ki understood why her mother was always angry every time she mentioned her father. She had never seen a picture of her father in more than 20 years. At this time, Sung-Joon walked along the cave entrance to find there were only 43 seconds left of the bomb. If they couldn't find someone to die, then Eun-Jae would decide to let them die together. Eun-Jae took out the remote control and said, "Let's all go to hell together." Everyone immediately hugged each other. When Sung-Joon stood there staring at the countdown bomb, Eun-Jae immediately realized something was wrong. No matter how he pressed the remote control, the bomb wouldn't explode, so he went back to the basement. At this moment, a dark figure walked out of the darkness. Eun-Jae looked closely. It turned out to be the brother he loved the most. At the same time, a gun was pointed straight at Eun-Jae's head. So the serial murder case that had shocked all of Korea had caught the culprit. But was everything really that simple? Going back to the scene just now, when Sung-Joon put the gun to Eun-Jae's head, he turned to look at Sung-Hoon next to him with an expression of disbelief. Then Eun-Jae was pushed against the wall. At this moment, his face was extremely angry and he asked, "What's going on? Why aren't you saying anything? Say something." It seemed that things weren't that simple. One could even see betrayal in Eun-Jae's eyes. Very quickly, an investigation order was issued for Eun-Jae. The chief ran over in a panic and told everyone to quickly convict, but killing 7 people in a row and kidnapping 8 people was not a small case, so convicting quickly was basically impossible. The chief was not only angry but also asked the team members to convict him of mental illness or wanton murder, and to do so as quickly as possible. When they arrived at the interrogation room, Sung-Joon presented all kinds of evidence to force Eun-Jae to confess. But Eun-Jae said that if it weren't for Sung-Hoon, Sung-Joon wouldn't have been able to catch him. Sung-Joon told Eun-Jae that the brother he was talking about was the judge, Ryu Sung-Hoon, whom he stabbed. Sung-Joon immediately asked why he had to do that. Eun-Jae said he didn't do it. When he learned that Sung-Hoon had testified, Eun-Jae's eyes immediately couldn't hide his disappointment. Because there was no convincing evidence, Eun-Jae couldn't be convicted for the time being. Therefore, Sung-Joon could only find another way. Sung-Joon immediately remembered that cameras were installed at every crime scene where Eun-Jae committed a crime. Just seeing Eun-Jae send the chief a video of his daughter's murder was enough to prove that Eun-Jae must have left the original video somewhere. Then Sung-Joon immediately told Seok-Gu to take out Eun-Jae's confiscated items. Among them was a laptop, but when Sung-Joon opened the laptop, he discovered that the hard drive inside was missing. At this time, the director was sneaking towards the lake, carefully took the hard drive out of his pocket and threw it into the lake. Thus, the case fell into a deadlock. Sung-Joon asked his brother to help him. Therefore, Sung-Hoon went to the interrogation room again. When Eun-Jae saw Sung-Hoon, his eyes were filled with surprise. Sung-Hoon also went straight to the point and said said that he had come here on his own initiative. Yoon-jae immediately stood up and approached Sung-Hoon and whispered something. Sung-Hoon immediately told Yoon-jae that he didn't need to do anything anymore. Sung-Hoon then told Sung-Joon that Yoon-jae had hidden the video in the place he thought was the safest. Based on Sung-Hoon's clue, Sung-Joon took out the confiscated items and the Bluetooth headset box. The contents immediately caught Sung-Joon's attention. Sung-Joon opened it to check and found a memory card. Then Sung-Joon brought the computer to Yoon-jae and pushed the video in front of him. It was the video of Mr. Kang's daughter being murdered. Furthermore, he had taken a picture with the body in black. At this point, Yoon-jae didn't care whether this evidence was convincing or not. He just wanted to know where Sung-Joon found the memory card. Could it be that his brother had really betrayed him? But Yoon-jae still thought it was probably not his brother who told Sung-Joon. He said his brother could not betray him. Sung-Joon said that if he wanted revenge, he would just find someone related. Why was he so cruel that he didn't even spare their daughter? But they killed Yoon-jae's sister, so he would make them feel the pain of losing a loved one. In addition, Yoon-jae also told Sung-Joon about pushing Sung-Joon in the playground and said that I should have killed you in the first place instead of simply giving my memories to you. Sung-Joon had lost his memories, so this was also the reason why he was identified as Yoon-jae from the beginning. At this time, Sung-Joon could not control his anger and stood up to kick Yoon-jae to the ground. Then Sung-Joon rushed over and punched Yoon-jae. Yoon-jae had had enough of these stupid policemen. Yoon-jae told Sung-Joon to think carefully. Why was that rope with Sung-Joon? Then Joon went to Sung-Hoon and asked him that why you knew I was pushed down at the playground but did not tell me. Furthermore, Sung-Joon took out the necklace and asked Sung-Hoon where it came from. Sung-Hoon said that this necklace was something Yoon-jae gave Sung-Hoon when he was at the welfare center. Yoon-jung had long considered Sung-Hoon as her real brother, so as long as he wore this necklace, he would be able to prove that they were family. Then Yoon-jung told Sung-Hoon that no matter what happened to her in the future, he had to take good care of Yoon-jae for her. The necklace was a symbol of family, and Sung-Hoon considered Sung-Joon as his real younger brother. So later Sung-Hoon gave the string to Sung-Joon. After hearing that, Sung-Joon was deeply moved. On the day Yoon-jae was officially arrested, Sung-Hoon came here, but Sung-Hoon's expression drove Yoon-jae crazy. Yoon-jae immediately shouted at Sung-Hoon, "How could you do that to me when you look like this?" Seeing Sung-Hoon still keeping an expressionless face, Yoon-jae burst into tears and said that Sung-Hoon couldn't do that to him. On the way back to the police station, Yoon-jae pushed Sung-Joon down the stairs. Then the scattered memories began to be rearranged. "This thing you're wearing is originally yours. Your name is Jung Eun-jae. Before coming to our house, you were in the Hope Welfare Center." It turned out that the one who did all of this was Sung-Hoon. At this time, Sung-Hoon received a phone call. Sung-Joon was pushed down the stairs, and in a moment, the broken memories were finally pieced together. At first, the one who turned him into Yoon-jae was Sung-Hoon. Sung-Joon could not have expected that the person who always said they was like a real brother had always considered him a pawn for revenge. Sung-Joon angrily pulled the rope down, then went to the detention room to question Yoon-jae that what you meant when you said my brother would betray me. Why did you restore my memories? But Yoon-jae said that because I pitied you, you did not even know who you had become like that for, and was still foolishly enduring it. However, Sung-Joon did not pay attention to it. At the same time, from Yoon-jae's small actions, it could be seen how dissatisfied he was at the moment. During these days of detention, Yoon-jae had always been suspicious. He thought his brother had betrayed him. "You couldn't betray me. You couldn't do that." To make Yoon-jae confess everything, Sung-Joon told him that from now on, he would have to stay in prison for the rest of his life. But Yoon-jae didn't think so. His arrogant appearance made it easy to see that he definitely had someone behind him. So who was the person behind him? Sung-Joon then brought up the suspicion he had hidden in his heart and asked Yoon-jae when you started planning the murder. It seemed that Sung-Joon knew that Yoon-jae's accomplice was Sung-Hoon. Yoon-jae told Sung-Joon that plans started from the moment Sung-Joon became Yoon-jae. It turned out that they had started planning the murder from that moment. Although Yoon-jae looked very calm on the outside, he was extremely uneasy inside because he was worried that Sung-Hoon would betray him. Sung-Joon could that little expression of his. Sung-Joon then added fuel to the fire and told him that he could only escape by putting all the charges on someone else. If his accomplice had a good reputation in society and a good family background, it would not be difficult for the accomplice to put the charges on someone like him. At that time, he would have to spend the rest of his life in prison and lose his freedom, while the other person would be able to live freely outside. With just one trick to separate the two, Sung-Joon spoke Yoon-jae's mind. After returning to the police station, Sung-Joon began to rearrange the details of the case. When did Sung-Joon start to suspect Sung-Hoon of being Yoon-jae's accomplice? Sung-Joon carefully reviewed all the details of the victim's accidents. Suddenly, Sung-Joon remembered the night Sung-Hoon had an accident. If Sung-Hoon had found out that Sung-Joon suspected Sung-Hoon, would he have acted on his own? If so, everything seemed very reasonable. All of the cases were likely Sung-Hoon's schemes. From the moment they decided to hold a nationwide trial to the murder of the chief's daughter, Sung-Hoon was the one who provided information to the jury members. Then there was Sung-Hoon's agitated reaction when he heard Manchun recording providing evidence of the conversation with the murderer. Sung-Hoon's unusual actions initially prevented him from investigating driver Choi. Then Sung-Hoon's random appearance on the day Mr. Kang's daughter was murdered. Now that Sung-Joon thought about it, he guessed that Sung-Hoon was either at the scene of the crime or had interfered with the investigation. The reason Sung-Hoon did that was not to solve the problem, but to hinder the investigation. Thinking of this, Sung-Joon immediately called Eun-Ki to ask her if the numbers marked by the number 45 on the drawing were made by Eun-Ki. After getting a negative answer, Sung-Joon became even more certain in his mind that Sung-Hoon was the mastermind behind all the cases. On this side, the woman received a mysterious file. As soon as she opened it, she was so scared that her face turned pale. In the photo was the scene of her husband in Yoon-jung's room 20 years ago. It turned out that Yoon-jung was not only violated by the chief at the beginning, but also was her husband, Judge Ryu. The judge immediately thought that Bae PD must have done this. At that time, only he went to the welfare center to collect evidence, but the wife insisted that it couldn't be Bae PD because in order to silence him, she had arranged for a killer to follow. Bae PD looked at the backpack in his hand and immediately felt scared. Then he ran to a corner where there was no one and opened his backpack. Inside was all the money. He was very satisfied with his calm performance on the transaction sheet. Suddenly, a man in black came up behind him. The man in black raised a brick and beat him up. After that, he died. The man in black took the money backpack and disappeared into the quiet night. The woman told her husband that their eldest son had been acting a bit strange lately. She said that what Sung-Joon said earlier had always bothered her. Sung-Joon could not have had any memories of being adopted unless Sung-Hoon had done it on purpose. Unexpectedly, Sung-Joon's parents both had secrets that they could not tell others. After learning that Sung-Hoon was an accomplice, Sung-Joon did not immediately ask Sung-Hoon but called Eun-Ki out to talk privately. Sung-Joon told Eun-Ki to move out of here quickly because Sung-Hoon was very suspicious now. At the same time, he also told Eun-Ki that if she met Sung-Hoon in the future, she must tell him in advance. Early the next morning, Sung-Hoon had just left the house first when Sung-Joon also woke up and followed Sung-Hoon to the park. The eye-catching yellow paint on the ground attracted Sung-Joon. The paint on the soles of Sung-Hoon's shoes and the yellow paint on the soles of Yoon-Jae's shoes probably came from here. The two of them must have come here to meet each other often. Yoon-Jae was in the detention room now, so who was the one who met Sung-Hoon? Just when Sung-Joon was extremely suspicious, he received a phone call from his colleague saying that Bae PD was murdered. Sung-Joon immediately rushed to the scene. This must have been done by Young-soo. Yoon-Jae was in the detention room now, so the only person who could have murdered the jury was Young-soo. The words of his colleague made Sung-Joon immediately think that the person who met Sung-Hoon in the park was Young-soo. So Sung-Joon started to ask around and investigate. At the same time, he also discovered a camera in the restaurant where Bae PD held party yesterday. But this was not the restaurant's action. Through the surveillance camera, Sung-Joon knew that before Bae PD came here to meet his mother, Sung-Hoon had already come to this dining room. So what did Sung-Hoon want him to hear by installing the camera there? With doubts in his heart, Sung-Joon immediately returned to find his parents, but his mother did not say a word about this matter. So Sung-Joon called Sung-Hoon again and said, "I wanted to meet you." However, Sung-Hoon made an excuse that he was busy, so he did not have to see Sung-Joon. So Sung-Joon had no choice but to get straight to the point and asked Sung-Hoon if he had killed Bae PD. At the same time, Sung-Joon asked Sung-Hoon why he installed the camera in the restaurant. Did he want to see if those people would make the same decision as 20 years ago? Because these people kept repeating the same mistakes. That's why he killed Bae PD. Sung-Joon asked Sung-Hoon if it was the parents and the chief's turn next. Sung-Hoon said Sung-Joon had a good guess. After hearing the answer, Sung-Joon shouted, "Brother, are you crazy?" Sung-Hoon told Sung-Joon, "Don't guess wrong this time." After saying that, Sung-Hoon hung up the phone. Sung-Joon rushed into the detention room that night and asked Yoon-Jae who their next target was. Was Sung-Hoon forced to join the plan? But Yoon-Jae said the one who designed this revenge plan from beginning to end was Sung-Hoon. It turned out that according to the target and method of revenge they originally planned, the first target was Baekmun-kam. The second was Chief Yeom-ki-nam. But Yoon-Jae said that the most painful thing for them was probably the pain of losing a loved one. So Baekmun-kang and Yeom-ki-nam lost their daughter. Sung-Hoon disagreed and said that whoever committed the crime had to pay for it. But Yoon-Jae disagreed and said that they were both the masterminds that caused him to lose the sister he loved the most. Then Yoon-Jae said that he would do this as long as Sung-Hoon tacitly agreed. Finally, Sung-Hoon set a limit. Sung-Hoon warned Yoon-Jae not to harm children. All 7 targets were considered by Sung-Hoon and then presented to the jury. Yoon-Jae and Young-soo were the ones who handled it. Ji-eun was also placed on the jury by Sung-Hoon. In this way, they planned to deal with each of them one by one. Yoon-Jae tells Sung-Joon that even now the revenge plan is still going on. The benefactors of the welfare center were initially thought to be extremely cruel. They not only abused the children but also locked the girls in the villa to entertain special guests. Because of being tortured for a long time, by the time the nurse arrived, Yoon-jung had fallen to the ground and was no longer breathing. Sung-Hoon took Yoon-Jae to dig up Yoon-jung's body that night. From that moment on, Sung-Hoon and Yoon-Jae decided decided to take revenge and planned very carefully. Yoon-jae was arrested. Sung-Hoon immediately made an appointment with his father to go fishing. Sung-Hoon wanted to let Sung-Joon know how cruel his father was. So before coming here, Sung-Hoon called Sung-Joon early. Because the case had already passed the prosecution stage, Sung-Hoon's father revealed everything without any reservation. It turned out that year he received the case from the welfare center. Before going there to investigate, he discovered that his wife was involved in this matter. For the sake of his family, he ordered all evidence to be destroyed so that everyone could cover up the truth. As a husband, he couldn't stand to see his wife go to court, so he chose to remain silent. But Sung-Hoon knew that the reason his father covered up the truth was not just that. His father had received special treatment at the villa, so his father let it go so easily. In order to cover up the crimes, Sung-Hoon's father admitted everything. Sung-Hoon and his father's conversation was clearly heard by Sung-Joon in the car. Until now, Sung-Hoon's father still doesn't see that he was wrong. Sung-Hoon just wanted his father to admit his guilt, but his father didn't intend to admit guilt. Suddenly, Sung-Joon heard a gunshot. His father angrily pointed the gun at Sung-Hoon and called Sung-Hoon a traitor. He raised Sung-Hoon as his own son for 20 years. That was enough to pay for his sins. If Sung-Hoon kept digging up the past like that, he would pull the trigger and shoot Sung-Hoon. But until now, no matter what Sung-Hoon said, he still didn't turn himself in. Sung-Hoon's father pulled the trigger again. Sung-Joon rushed over to stop him. However, his unrepentant father shouted that I had to kill Sung-Hoon here and then make Sung-Hoon commit suicide. Sung-Joon saw this and wrestled father down and arrested him for attempted murder. It was clear that this step was also part of Sung-Hoon's revenge plan. Sung-Hoon told Sung-Joon that all the betrayals Sung-Hoon had received were even more. Just like 20 years ago, Sung-Joon asked Sung-Hoon if from the beginning to the end, you had ever considered me as a younger brother. After getting a negative answer, Sung-Joon's facial expression changed. Even the rain couldn't hide Sung-Joon's tears. Sung-Joon immediately punched Sung-Hoon to the ground and vented his anger. He only stopped when he had no more strength left. Then Eun-Ki went to the police station to give Sung-Joon the video from the restaurant. Only then did Sung-Joon learn that it was the chief who hired someone to kill Bae PD with his mother's tacit consent. The next day, this video was released and immediately caused a stir throughout Korea. Through the chief's call records, Sung-Joon caught the perpetrator. Finally, through the perpetrator's call recording, Sung-Joon arrested the chief. The next day, Sung-Joon asked his mother to come to the lake again. Sung-Joon couldn't listen what his mother said anymore, so he personally put handcuffs on his mother. After that, Sung-Joon visited Yoon-jae in prison and advised him that everything was over. Sung-Joon told Yoon-jae to think about himself, but Yoon-jae said that everything was not over yet because he had one last thing to do. Then Yoon-jae went to the bathroom. At this time, Baek Moon-kang had been waiting here for a long time. There was still a debt between the two of them that needed to be settled. Then Baek Moon-kang prepared to kill Yoon-jae to avenge his daughter. He threw Yoon-jae into the corner of the wall and strangled Yoon-jae's neck. He said that he regretted not killing Yoon-jae at first. If he had killed Yoon-jae, his daughter might still be alive. Little Yoon-jae was no different from the 13th in Baek Moon-kang's eyes. He stabbed Yoon-jae repeatedly with a knife and then used the same method to prepare to slit Yoon-jae's mouth. Yoon-jae grabbed a piece of glass next to him and used his last bit of strength to stab straight into Baek Moon-kang's aorta. In the end, the two died together on the spot and the grudge between them was cleared. After hearing the news of Yoon-jae's death, Sung-Hoon shed tears and held the photo. Memories flooded back. Sung-Hoon promised Yoon-jung that he would protect Yoon-jae, but Sung-Hoon abandoned Yoon-jae, so Sung-Hoon felt very guilty so that he was leave the world on his own. Sung-Hoon was eventually discovered and was taken to the hospital in time. Eun-Ki posted the child abuse case at the orphanage online, attracting everyone's attention. The collection of self-drawn pictures of abused and mistreated children was promoted. This way, more public support could be gained. After waking up, Sung-Hoon immediately filed for a nationwide trial. From the day Sung-Hoon planned his revenge, he knew that he would have to go to court sooner or later. In court, Sung-Hoon appealed to the court about the crimes that the welfare center had committed at that time. Eun-Ki's mother also testified in court that she had discovered Yoon-jung in the villa at that time. Moreover, Yoon-jung was not the only one who had been harmed. The reason she did not dare to tell the truth before was because she had also been raped in the same way, so she was also very scared. When the lawyer asked why these evil people were allowed to be on the jury, Sung-Hoon said that 20 years ago, the welfare center hoped that those who abused and supported child abuse were all ordinary people. There were food company employees who embezzled food expenses, welfare home inspectors, nurses who specialized in treating children, and police officers who protected the country and the people. After returning home, they all played the role of good husbands and fathers who loved their children very much, but in reality, they were demons who brought nightmares to the children of the welfare center that year. After all the hard work, the petition that Sung-Hoon had submitted was finally nowhere to be found. That was what made Sung-Hoon so desperate. Sung-Hoon wanted to choose a nationwide trial, not just to reduce a sentence, but to expose the crimes of that year in front of all the people of the country. And finally, Sung-Hoon also apologized to all the victims' families. He sincerely apologized to everyone. At this time, Sung-Joon also shed tears. Sung-Joon understood understood that Sung-Hoon's apology included too much. In the end, the members of the jury unanimously agreed that Sung-Hoon was guilty. Defendant, Ryu Sung-Hoon, was sentenced to life in prison. The grudge of 20 years ago was finally over. The serial murder case that shocked the whole country of Korea had finally come to an end. The last time Sung-Joon visited Sung-Hoon, the two looked at each other speechless. Before leaving, Sung-Joon couldn't help but call Sung-Hoon brother. Sung-Joon hoped that from now on, Sung-Joon could escape from the pain of the past. At this moment, young Sung-Hoon slowly walked from the end of the hallway and gradually transformed into adult Sung-Hoon. He pushed open the gate that had bound him for so many years and walked towards his new life.